TIFU by Googling my test results.
I, 27F, had my gallbladder removed about a year ago. I've been having a few toilet-related issues, so I went back to the doctor and he ran a few tests too. Of those being a blood test and a stool sample. I have hard to find veins, so as I thought the bloods were hard to take, and I ended up with a
hematoma on my arm about 3 inches wide.
Fine, my vein are terrible.
No one can do it first time, although I had never bruised like this before.
Fast forward a week, my bloods came back fine and I receive a letter in the post. This letter was from UKHSA, UK Health Security Agency, Infectious Disease Control in the UK. I started reading. Your recent sample has come back positive for a toxin-producing form of E. coli. At this point I'm quite worried. I already have bad health anxiety since my mum died 2 months ago. So I call my dad to go through the letter with me. It goes on to say it's quite serious and explains how most people get better within 5 to 10 days, but some develop HUS, and that is very dangerous. Bear in mind this is 3 weeks after symptoms started. I googled HUS to see the symptoms. Bruising easily, that comes up red, purple, and several other symptoms that matched mine. Then goes on to explain how this can all lead to kidney failure. But most people make a full recovery after a few weeks in the hospital, but about 10% die. I started really freaking out. The letter goes on about how it's super dangerous for children under 5. I have a 1.5-year-old. Even my dad, who is the calmest man I've ever met, was starting to get worried as the letter was repeatedly mentioning death. I called the doctors and she said the doctor will call me this afternoon. I sat barely able to do anything, crippled with anxiety, while I waited 4 hours for the call. I suffered 3 panic attacks. Even though I haven't had one for about 4 years. The doctor said while I tested positive when they cultured it, the bacteria wouldn't grow, so it's dead already and I'm fine, and the other doctor just didn't take my blood very well and they still need to refer me to gastro to see what's causing my issues. I really don't understand why they couldn't have put that extra information in the letter. But don't Google your symptoms. Speak to your doctor first. I would like to point out that I figured out it was my gallbladder using Google after 5 years of tests. So it can work. TL. Doctor received a letter from disease control saying I had a toxic form of E. coli and might die. Freak out Googling my symptoms for the doctor to call me to tell me I had E. coli and it's dead, just still present. This is why you shouldn't trust Google for medical-related problems. Yeah, it might get it right sometimes. But in most cases you're just getting general information about what you're Googling, not specific answers about your problem. That's why you should always speak to your doctor or GP first. They'll know your medical history, and they can provide you with all the answers you're looking for. This is the kind of thing you see in movies, but they accidentally send you someone else's letter. LMAO. Plus, I'm glad you are okay though. Keep a food diary. Some people find particular foods intolerable after a cholecystectomy. So me and my best friend are worry warts. We basically smack each other anytime one of us is Googling medical stuff. It's always a bad idea. Google just gets one thing right about medical condition. We will die. Probably not because of the matter we searched. But we will. Yes. 100% agree. I went for my annual checkup for the first time in 4 years about 4 weeks ago. Blood and urine test. I specifically did not look up my test results until I met with my doctor. Everything came back okay. My friend did the same tests, but looked up the results online. He had anxiety because he didn't understand the results and thought they were bad. Was freaking out for about 1 week. It turned out that his results were within normal numbers. I have hard to find veins as well. Do you ever ask them to take blood from the top of your hand? That's what works best for me. Might work for you. Sorry you went through this. I received a letter about my COVID-19 test that scared me silly. I called my doctor immediately, but had to wait 7 hours. End of her workday. For her to return my call, I turned to Google. The answers had me so scared. I immediately called my daughter. Something I never do with health issues. But I had been at her home that weekend. With her, my granddaughter and Sil. I wanted them to all take tests immediately. Finally my doctor returned my call. She couldn't understand why I was so upset, as her report showed I was negative and my vaccinations and boosters had given me a high antigen count. She asked for serial number of my letter. She phoned me back in 30 minutes. A patient with same name, but not my middle initial, should have received the bad report. The lab had sent me the wrong report. They hadn't looked at account number, DOB, or SSN, just did a visual on the name. My doctor said I should be receiving an email with the correct report shortly. She said she'd spoke to the lab manager directly and he was most apologetic. I immediately called my daughter. She was relieved that I was okay. Not upset about family taking test. As between Sil job as first responder, Grand being in public high school, and her working on Broadway part-time, they took tests quite frequently. When I checked my emails, there was a corrected lab report and an apology from the lab manager for the mistake, including a credit which covered my out-of-pocket costs for the tests. Google is fine for generalized information. Gave me correct indication that I might have an ulcer. Again, gastroenterologist confirmed, but see or talk to a doctor or nurse for clarification, codification, confirmation that you have a genuine problem. Easier on your blood pressure. I'm so happy to know that you will be okay. Exclamation mark. Exclamation mark. Can relate to the health anxiety. I've been in and out of doctors as of late and all of them say I'm fine, just dealing with heavy anxiety. As soon as I rule out one thing I move on to the next. Lately it's been checking my moles obsessively. I'm just gonna schedule with a derma for a body scan for peace of mind, even though most moles are usually a non-issue. Health anxiety is just such a bitch. I'm a little confused by your culture results. The bacteria did grow in culture. That's the only way they could know the identity, and etc isn't something that would commonly be found on the skin as a contaminant. But I'm glad you're doing okay op. Keep that GIAPPT. I feel like you need a second opinion behind your PCP.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epicaricast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.